Hi guys, Dave here, we're back in the shed, ready for another project. Today I'm going to make a start on restoring an old air rifle. It's a Relum Tornado. I sort of inherited this from my father and it's in a pretty poor state. It's got wrong screws fitted. The stock has been sanded down and varnished with some kind of yacht varnish, I assume. There should be cross hatching in the stock here in the hand grip to give better grip. That's been mostly sanded away. The detent plunger is missing on the cocking lever, and generally the metalwork is in a poor state. It's dirty, it's rusty, it's had some sort of dodgy paint treatment applied to it that's gone really crusty and horrible. I've had a little go with a wire brush and that cleans up quite well, and I've got a pot of gun blue to tidy it up afterwards. And just to help me figure it all out, I've got an assembly drawing of the gun courtesy of TW Chambers and Co via the internet. So I've printed that out and I've just sellotaped it to the window so that I can see what I'm dealing with. So I've got it laid on the bench. I've got a few tools ready, so a couple of screwdrivers. I've got a device here which I made. I'll show you what that's for in a little while as we get it stripped down. One of the other things that's missing is the scope rail is missing from there, so I've bought a cheap version off eBay which will eventually screw onto there. Looks like I shall have to drill and tap a new hole in there to take the fixing screws, but we've got that all there, and I've got a little box to hold all of the screws as they come out. So I think the first thing I'll do is put a pair of gloves on, because I'm sure the internal workings of this gun are going to be quite greasy and messy. So we'll get some personal protection equipment on. And the first thing I need to do is remove the main body of the gun from the stock. That's the wrong type of screw. It might even be the wrong thread. If we look at the one on the other side, which is the correct screw, and you can see there it's quite different. It should be a cheese head, and that's a tapered countersunk head screw. That should be shouldered. That one isn't, as I'm not even convinced that the thread is not the same. The thread's not the correct thread, so I have to see about getting a replacement screw for that. The third screw that holds it on is actually a screw within a screw. I can show you that. So down in there, the centre piece of that screw, the centre screw, is for adjusting trigger pressure. So if we wind that in, and the outer part is the screw that holds the stock to the main gun body. That's it. So that's the stock removed. We'll put that to one side and we'll sand that down, and I'll see if I can recut the cross hatching into the grip at a later date, and then we can tidy it up and give it a nice oiled finish. There is that centre screw adjustment. So if you can see, as I unscrew the centre screw, it disappears back in. All that does is apply pressure onto the release mechanism, so the trigger will have to move less and it'll be easier or harder, whichever way you adjust it. Right, so we'll put the stock out of the way. I've just moved the camera a bit closer to where I'm going to be working so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to clamp that in the vise. I've got soft jaws on, so it won't damage anything. I've clamped it across the main body of the gun, which is quite heavy metal. That won't get damaged. If I clamped it across there, that's the cylinder where the piston runs inside, and I could distort that and then it won't work at all. Right, this tool is for removing the end cap that holds the springs in place. There's 2 springs inside this gun, and I believe there will be a couple of inches of compression on those springs as it stands. So I need to first of all take the pressure off that before I can take the pin out that holds that end cap in. So I've made this, which will slide over there, lock round, I can wind that in. That will take the pressure off. And then I should be able to push the pin out easily, pop that in the box, and then I can undo this screw, releasing the pressure of the spring safely. I should also be able to use this to reinstall the spring and this end cap safely and easily, much easier than trying to compress the spring by hand. Pretty sure I would be able to do it by hand, but there we go. And even with that fully unwound, there was still a bit of pressure against it, not excessive though. So there's the end cap. That can go in there. Pop that tool to one side. Need to disconnect this cocking lever. Take that screw out, pop him in the box. And now that whole assembly should slide back to there. Gone the wrong way. That's the springs. As I expected, they're quite gummed up with some nasty black grease. Pop that there. Then I can draw the piston assembly out. And straight away the leather seal on the piston is damaged, so it won't have been working very well, so I'll have to get a new seal for that. I'll clean all of this gungy grease off it. Need to just pop the trigger mechanism out. which is simply sliding that pin out of there, and there's a little spring on the trigger to hold it in position. So there's the trigger and its spring, and then that pin holds the other part of the trigger mechanism. I can't remember what this part is called, it has got a proper name, but basically that's the piece that locks on to that tag on the piston. So when the piston comes back, when the piston slides back, it goes like that, and that holds it until you pull the trigger, and when you pull the trigger it flips that up and releases that, and the springs drive it forward. So there we have it, that's all good. Cocking lever itself can come off, which has got two screws, the main pivot screw and a little retaining screw. You may have noticed that I'm putting all of these bits into a little box. After my experience losing screws with the shredder, I opted for anything like this to pop all the bits in a little plastic box where they can be kept safe and I shouldn't lose anything. Right, so there's the cocking lever. The detent plunger's broken, so I shall have to sort out something about that. Probably end up making a new one. Can get parts for these guns, but it's not worth a lot. I don't really want to spend a lot of money on it, and if I can make the parts, all well and good. There we go, and there's the cocking slide, and the only remaining part to come off that is the pellet loader. Which is a tap mechanism held in by this nut and a spring, and there it is. That's the loading tap. So that would sit like that. To load, you cock the gun, turn that, drop a pellet in, turn that back up, and that hole is then in line with the barrel, and when you pull the trigger, compressed air pushes the pellet through, fires it down the barrel and out at whatever target you're shooting at. So that's the loading tap, spring and its cap. And that's the bare body of the gun. Have a quick look. I doubt if you can see anything down inside there. Probably need it. Yeah, I'll need a torch to see into that. Well, that's it. That's all stripped down. So I shall clean this all up, strip it back to bare steel, polish it up as best I can, and then see about bluing it with the bluing treatment. The same for the cocking arm. Let's see if we can get that pin out. Hold that in. Use that screwdriver to take a bit of pressure off. No, that's tight. Probably have to put that in the vise. Probably just have to tap that out with a little mallet. Excuse the abuse of a screwdriver, but it's an old one. Unfortunately I haven't got any pin punches here. Right, so the pin can go in there and its spring, and that's the broken detent plunger. So we'll pop that in the box so that we can make a new one. And there we go. All in all, it's a fairly simple device. As I say, it's in a poor state. We'll give it a clean up. See, is there a registration number on it? There is some letter in there. Just having a closer look at that, there's some letter in there. Can't quite make out what it says. There should be a serial number on the gun somewhere. Nothing obvious. I think that says foreign, not certain, which will mean it's probably made in Hungary, I think it is. So we'll give that a little clean up with the wire brush in the battery drill. These little soft brass wire brushes. Yes, it does indeed say foreign. Right, so I think we'll pop that back in the vise. Getting clamped up nice and securely. I'm going to switch to a larger brush because it's got longer bristles that are a bit more flexible, and because the rotary speed will be higher on this, I'm switching it to the low speed on the drill. That's cleaning up really well. I've switched to the higher speed on the drill, but I'm not putting any pressure on the brush. I'm literally just letting the brush rest against the job, and it's cleaning up really well. Well, I have to say I'm really quite pleased with how well that's cleaning up. Haven't found any signs of a serial number as yet. I don't know where it would be particularly stamped on this. Maybe it's on the barrel. I would have expected it to be on the main cylinder. Still a little bit to do there, but it's coming on well. I won't bore you with watching all of that. One point, if you're using a power tool, an electric drill like this, for a prolonged job such as that, be careful how you hold it. Whether it be a battery drill or a corded mains drill, it needs ventilation. Holding it like that, you're blocking the ventilation, the drill will overheat, you'll soon burn it out. So just be careful how you hold it. It might have looked like I got it like that. I'd actually got it like that, so my hand wasn't covering the vent holes and it could ventilate. I think that will do for this video for now. I'll continue to clean all of these bits up and degrease the springs and the piston and get and have a good inspection of it all, and then I can see about what parts I need either to make or to buy if I can buy them. Okay, so I've had a bit of a clean up of everything. The main body of the gun and the cocking lever and its mechanism I've all cleaned up quite well. There's a little bit of rust pitting on the main body of the gun, certainly in here, but that area is actually covered by the stock, so shouldn't be a problem. This is the piston. The seal is completely shot. It appears to be held in with that centre spigot, which is riveted inside, so that's going to have to be drilled off. And then there's the two main springs. Quite why they use two springs I don't fully understand. Normally dual spring setups are to prevent oscillation, which I wouldn't have thought would be a big problem in an air rifle, but for some reason they choose to use two springs. The inner one's looking rather tired, it's a bit wobbly, winky wonky. So I think we might just have to invest in a pair of springs for it. And I think that's about as far as I can go for now. We're all cleaned up. I need to take that piston to my main workshop and drill that rivet out on the lathe so that I can get the seal off, and then I can see what I can do about a new seal. Whether I go for a replacement leather seal or whether there's a better alternative available nowadays. As you can see, it's pretty crudely machined. The slot in that piston is anyhow. So a cheaply made gun. I think it'll tidy up and we can make it into something decent. Bye for now.